Woohoo! TwoSun Tuesday coming at you, and this is a pretty brand new knife, but I've been enjoying it a hell of a lot, and it seems like a lot of other people online have been quite interested in this one, catching their eye over some other ones, so I figured I'd take a look at it sooner rather than later. This is the TS144. It's a NightMorning design. It does have that Yang TwoSun little titanium pivot collar on it here. And we can see we have a whole bunch of ellipses. And if you look real close right here, it looks like this one in particular had just a little tiny bit of a milling mistake. However, looks like that was copied over on the other side here. So either for whatever reason that is supposed to be there, or they did match these two scales. Either way, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. But if someone is looking for an absolutely aesthetically perfect one, I don't know, it might bother them a little bit here. This one, let's see, let's go ahead and open them up. We got thumb stud openers for this guy, and we can see we have a hollow ground, or compound grind, so we got hollow and then flat on the top here. Tanto, we don't have a recurve on this one in particular here. We have just a little tiny bit of a harpoon hump, but it's near the front. Makes for really, really comfortable grip there. And gives you just a little bit of that positive purchase without putting a whole bunch of jimping on it. But we also have a generous finger choil. So if you do want to really get up there behind the edge for that gorilla hammer grip, well, you can definitely do that. For most knives that end up having that finger choil and kind of designed to have your thumb back here, I don't feel like you get a whole lot of power out of a grip like this. And I've certainly mentioned that with other knives as well. But hey, it offers different grips. All right, as far as reverse grip, yeah, it works out pretty well. We got a nice landing area for your thumb to kind of grip on there. Maybe not the absolute most positive, really locked in there, at least for my hands, because it's just a little tiny bit short in the handle for that, but hey, your mileage may vary with that. And we do have, of course, the lanyard hole hidden in the back spacer here. This is a mostly open construction, so that's kind of neat. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this thing here. This is a titanium knife with a steel liner. There's been some popular knives that have come out recently that do kind of something similar to that. Obviously, the tactile Rockwall is kind of the darling of the show at the moment, but there's been others as well. So this one is designed, I guess, a little bit like what is the number on that? Son of a gun. This one, the TS182. This one is in carbon fiber. They also make a micarta variant of it. But yeah, it's nested steel liner inside a different material. I am going to bring out a couple of knives because I do think that this is basically a mashup in a great way from NightMorning of a couple other designs. So I'll go ahead and toss this guy up here. The first one is the TS269 here. And I can open that up, and you see we have that little harpoon sort of area. It is pushed a little bit further forward, and it does have just a little bit of jimping, but it does have a lot of those elliptical milling sort of things going on there. And the other one, this one was the darling everywhere for just a little bit, about a year ago. This is the TS313. It was their first button lock, at least the first one released. And, well, you can definitely see the blade shape is quite similar to it. Thinner, for sure. This is also, of course, a saber grind, but it starts out at 3.8 millimeters, whereas this big old beefy guy starts at 4 and takes a lot longer to get there. This blade was much more designed with heavy use in mind. As you can see just how far I had to come up the shoulder on this to put a 15-degree edge on it. But it does kind of look like it was the mashup of both of these. with neither of the lock mechanisms, of course, because this is a steel liner lock, whereas a 269, titanium frame lock, and of course we got the button lock here. But I did kind of want to bring those out there just to kind of put that into perspective a little bit. But to a little bit more degree, this 144 here kind of drops the blade down a little bit, much more so than this guy here. So that gives you just a little bit more clearance when in the back part of the blade there when you're trying to cut some stuff. I'm not saying you're going to have knuckle clearance with it, obviously. Well, yeah, I got a lot more room before I actually interface with that. But I do like those kinds of designs in general. However, it does have that head forward, like one of those, what was it, a derpy buzzard or something like that from old Looney Tunes cartoons? Just, okay, whatever. Yeah, that's not important at all. This, like almost all others at the moment, is made with D2 steel. I'm sure if this one gets super popular, like it seems like it possibly could, it seems like, any other knives like that, they do end up re-releasing them, mostly in M390, but hey, we'll see. Maybe it'll be S90V, maybe M398, I don't know. But, yeah, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of specs. I did mention that we have 3.8 millimeters for the blade stock thickness, which is still fairly thick, a little thicker than I think is probably necessary, but hey, that is what it is, and TwoSun's done it forever, so it doesn't seem like they're going to stop anytime soon. For this being a liner lock, a little weighty. We got 4.94 ounces, or 140 grams. Yeah, this is not a lightweight little knife here. Oh yeah, by the way, the pocket clip does match those ellipses. And mounted from the inside. Super sweet. And we do have just a little bit of a... Let's see if I can't get a little bit of light going on in there. Yeah, we do have a little bit of a groove on the inside there for the little tanto tip way over here to nestle in so it doesn't bang into anything and cause any blade wraps, and that's great. All right, so back to this. Yeah, it's quite heavy. That doesn't necessarily bother me, but if you are looking for something that's going to be a much more lightweight option, this probably isn't going to fulfill that for you. As far as the blade goes, we have basically 3.73 inches. However, that is measuring from the furthest point forward on the scales here out to the tip. We do have that little finger choil there. So we're a little bit closer to 3.5 inches of sharpened blade length on that guy. And those of you with the sensible measurements, it's 94.7 millimeters for that blade length there. It's decently thin, though. We got 0.51 of an inch, which is right around on that paramilitary 2 range. Comes in exactly at 13 millimeters. Mine in particular, on the front here, if I show it, yeah, it's got a little tiny bit of a scratch on the flat, which, interestingly, the flat satin is horizontal rather than vertical. So it's kind of nice to see just a little bit of a difference there. Yeah, that did come out of the box. Like I said, I don't care. I use them as blades and, functional tools. So, and besides, I'm probably going to end up scratching the damn thing up over the years anyway, so I don't particularly care. The other thing that is just a little tiny bit interesting about this is the stop pin here. Almost always, their stop pins are done like this, where they seat inside whatever the scale material is there. And, if it's more of the lighter weight stuff like G10 or micarta, they usually have the liners that it ends up going through there. However, this one, they did extend that pin out a little bit and drilled all the way through the titanium there. Just kind of an interesting little visual flair to it. I like it. I've seen it on some other brands recently. But yeah, I do like that quite a bit. Let's try and get some blade size comparisons going on here. Let's see. I'll start out with some Spyderco. We got the PM2. Ooh, let's see. Sure, and the Endura right over here. All right, next up, I'll pull out a couple of Benchmans. We got, of course, the 535 bug outs and the 940 Osborne. And yeah, it is definitely larger than either of those. Let's see, and for good measure, how about if I go ahead and put this up against the Rat number 1 and the Boker Kalashnikov 74. Of course, in the Desert Warrior pattern, because, well, it amuses me having a switchblade that has like a freaking pink cupcake handle on it. All right, so the blade geometry on this, pretty darn good. It's nowhere near as thick, especially behind the edge, like that 313 button lock I was taking a look at before. But their hollow grinds, and most companies' hollow grinds, don't get ridiculously thin behind the edge there. If you want something that's the thinnest behind the edge, generally from TwoSun, a hollow grind isn't going to get you that. A full flat will. And that's kind of the case here. It's still relatively capable, and especially after I've reprofiled this to 17 degrees, kind of thin that out just a little bit. Yeah, this thing soars through material. Up at the front and the flat here, it is fairly thick up here, quite a bit like the 224, what was that, the Viper? Let's see, I should be able to find it right over here. Yeah, it is the Viper, which basically just has a reinforced tip here, and as you can see, yeah, this is very, very thick on this one. Not quite a tanto, but similar kind of geometry going on there. That really reinforces it for that forward pokey motion, if you will. And yeah, the tip is definitely nice and reinforced on this thing, as you can see once I actually get up there. It does have a swedge that thins it out just a little bit. But yes, this thing is very capable for those particular things. This thumb ramp works super, super well when I'm using it in that saber grip. Works out really, really nice. Like I said up top in the thing there, I don't really think this so much as a really, really viable option, because I feel like I don't really have power either way, because I feel like pushing that is, I don't know, just to me, it doesn't feel super stable in the hand. However, if I do want to get right up on there in that gorilla grip, especially if you're doing feather sticking or other woodwork where you need a little bit more force, that works out super, super great. There's not a whole lot of negatives I can really say on this thing, other than the couple that I had pointed out, the milling imperfection and the water drop ellipsis sort of thing going on there, which, like I said, is easily just this one particular knife. And of course, it had a scratch or two on it. But I mean, as far as the functionality goes, this thing is great. We do have that lock bar cut out there. Very easy to actuate. It does have some, they essentially jimped it rather than doing any of the other scallop things. And then, of course, they kind of dug that out a little bit. Works out super, super great. This thing isn't an absolute beast of a drop shut. But, you know, once you get over that detent there, which happens relatively early, but it also does have a detent ramp on it. But yeah, once you get over that, it's pretty darn easy to wiggle shut. So fairly safe on the hands. It's not just going to guillotine some fingertips off or anything like that. But, okay, so that's basically what I wanted to cover for the main review. So the people who stopped by for that, I appreciate it. But the rest of this is going to be taking a look on the inside of it. So if you're not interested in that, we'll see you later. But for those of us who are a little bit more interested on the internals of this thing, let's go ahead and take a look. This thing has a fairly interesting kind of screw. It's not the first one that I've seen TwoSun use, but it is a little bit different from what you're kind of used to. It starts out as a Chicago screw. You can come out. There we go. Yes, it starts as that barrel Chicago screw, but ends with a screw on the inside, or yeah, on the outside there, that interfaces directly inside the pocket clip here. The pocket clip also is cut out nice, but also has a little bit of a detent sort of thing there. Great to see that. It's another anchor point to keep it centered, even though titanium really doesn't have any problems with you kind of wrenching a clip or something like that. Still, nice to see that, and hopefully he does incorporate that on much more of his more recent designs, so we don't have any damaged micarta and wiggly scales, or wiggly things and whatnot. Pocket clips. So, alrighty, yeah, on the inside, we can see we do have a little bit of a skeletonization going on there. So, yeah, that's nice. It is milled on both sides. Does help the weight a little bit. Obviously, like I said, this is just under 5 ounces. So, not exactly a lightweight, but that's okay. And of course, we have the bearing race in here. This one is only using the single row bearings. Kind of makes sense, I suppose, for the size of it and everything. And yeah, here is the little steel liner lock. I do like the fact that this is internal. Oh, that's right. This does use T6s, which makes sense, I suppose, for the inside of something here. And yeah, these are a little different. They are very, very thin. Of course, they have to be to interface into that. We have a little bit of a raised area that helps basically the liner seat correctly in there. And of course, another one of those dot things to anchor it at a third point here. Yep. And then they've basically just tapped into the titanium. At first, I actually thought these were threaded inserts that they put in there, but no, it's just threaded into the titanium. Hey, it works for pocket clips on things, so it's not really a big deal. And I mean, TwoSun's hardware, I have no complaints on. It is good to go with all of that. Of course, we do have the ceramic bearing there, and because this is a steel piece, we don't really need a hardened steel insert going on there. Yeah, I mean, other than that, pretty darn standard there. Something that I do generally like to point out is on TwoSun, when they do their liner lock grinds and their frame locks, you don't really end up with a burr or a burnt edge going on the other side there, which I generally end up seeing from almost any manufacturer, regardless of price. And that comes down to a couple of things. But first thing I should point out, it is not important for the function of the knife whatsoever. Back here is nowhere near the edge of the blade, so you don't really have to worry about that temper messing with any of the hardness there. It also doesn't reach up any higher than its interface, whether it be bearings or anything like that. So it's really not important at all. But it's still a nice fit and finish feature that you generally don't see from a lot of companies. So there you go. Yeah, here's these itty bitty little screws. They do basically look like just some of their normal flat ones that they've physically cut off themselves for this particular model. Kind of interesting, but yeah, it works out quite well. Lockup is great on it. Like I said, it does remind me of that TS182. That carbon fiber one from Wong that I pulled out just a few minutes ago. Oops. I don't really want to lose any of these screws. we go. Tighten that just a little tiny bit. As pretty much anyone who does a decent amount of either engineering or tinkering like this will tell you, generally, if you do have, as I keep camming out on these things here, when you are tightening down multiple points on something, you generally want to loosely tighten them and then go around in order to fully tighten them. That helps keep pressures nice and even, especially if you're putting back together some lesser liner locks, from some of the more affordable companies out there. That will also definitely help keep the pressures the same, so you don't end up with a blade that is wildly off center because it has stresses in the liners and all that sort of good stuff. So there we go. Pop this guy back in here, and this was that stop pin. Alrighty, and they use their standard little bearings for that. This already has KPL basically on and or in it, so I don't really feel the need to worry so much about re-oiling any of that. Okay, there we are. Let's go ahead and grab that. Here is wrist cam in case anybody wanted to see my wrist today. Well, there you go. That was a nice, good old close-up of it. All right, and at this point, I can shove that Chicago screw through there, at least to the best of my ability. Make sure it actually goes all the way through. I need a T8, not a T6. We're coming in. At least we should be. I see it there. What are you caught up on? It's getting caught on something. Oh, there we go. I got it. Alright, and then for this one, I've basically set it on there, and I'll start screwing from the other side, and that will kind of pull the clip in with the things there until it's nice and tight and super sturdy. Yeah, we're all good. The other thing, I guess, now that we are here at the absolute end, that I forgot, and I probably should have put in earlier, but oh well, I guess people who didn't stick around probably won't see that. This thing, just like the TS144 here, does allow you to accidentally interface with the very, very tip of the blade when it's closed. This one's in there a little bit more, but you can. So if you are specifically holding it up and trying to cut yourself by running your finger over there, you can do that. I still think it's on both of these, I don't really think it's so much of an issue, but hey, I should probably throw that out there anyway. But all right, that is absolutely everything I wanted to cover on this thing. It's a fantastic knife, fantastic design. A little bit interesting that it's a steel liner lock with titanium scales on it. It's just a little bit different than their normal frame lock sort of things going on there, but that's perfectly okay. Still feels nice and sturdy and super capable. I do kind of hope that in the future they do end up doing a re-release on this with some different blade steels and stuff like that. But alrighty, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Subscribe, please.